Welcome to podcast 43. Yes, 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 maybe, but yes.
Hello, welcome to podcast 43. It is your host, Chris Borg, joined with my other host, Fulton Collins. So how are you doing, Fulton?
Hello, I'm doing good. It sounds like we're both in rainy weather, so it's a nice little rainy day.
Not in New
Fingers
York, though.
crossed. No, not in New York, unfortunately. But yeah, man. I can't really complain. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just need to watch something good to cleanse my brain of
What?
the stupid.
No. Um, I guess to rationalize why I chose this movie.
Yeah, I was very curious why you did just this movie.
Well, me and you've talked about this podcast, another podcast that me and Chris listen to. We've talked about it a few times called the Important Cinema Club. And I've never really, John Landis has had a filmography that I've always kind of wanted to get into, but I just never really have. Because he's got hits like Blues Brothers, Trading Places, Coming to America, An American Werewolf in London, um, Blues Brothers 2000, everyone's favorite, sequel. But it just hasn't happened. But I was listening to their episode on John Landis where they brought up the Stupids. Um, and I was like, you know what, that sounds kind of interesting. It sounds kind of funny. And I like Tom Arnold. I think that he can be funny. So I chose this
Yeah,
one, not knowing really anything about it, other than that it was like a suburban type, dumb like comedy.
a stupid comedy.
Yeah, you could call it stupid.
Wow.
Um, but without further ado, or I guess we should tell a plot really quick, and then we can kind of get into. We'll
Well,
start with your first impressions.
I suppose so. The movie is about a family, and their last name is Stupid. And they have
Mm.
it's like kind of a stereotypical 50s nuclear family. You have Tom Arnold as the dad, Stanley Stupid, and then Jessica Lundy as Joan Stupid, and their two kids played by Bug Hall and Alex McKenna, Buster Stupid and Petunia Stupid. And then so they just kind of every single joke is pretty much them misunderstanding these obvious situations and then kind of getting roped into this grand conspiracy about
Mhm.
illegal arms dealing and trying to uncover a grand conspiracy about mail and random people who are stealing their garbage, which is really just the garbage man. And
Mhm.
but uh, despite a concept like that that could potentially be engaging, it's very one note. It feels like they stretched this joke very thin almost immediately, where uh, every single joke is just, oh, they misunderstood this, and oh my god, Tom Arnold is a mailman, and he sees that the mail at the mail sorting facility say a lot of mail says return to sender, and he thinks that there's somebody named Sender that is
Played by
stealing
Christopher
everyone's
Lee.
mail. Yeah, which actually ends up being true. There is actually a person named Sender that's stealing their mail, but it's just kind of more of a joke that, like, it's not really actually part of the plot. But
Mhm.
it's just a lot of stuff like that, a lot of misunderstanding of obvious things, without kind of a lot of umph to it. It's just kind of
Mhm.
like, I don't know. Um, but I do like Tom Arnold, and I'm sure that both you and me have our favorite Tom Arnold. I'm sure that I can speak for the both of us when I'd say that our favorite Tom Arnold movie is Soul Plane.
I've totally forgot that he was in Soul Plane. I honestly haven't thought about Soul Plane too much since me and you watched it. Um, yeah, with man, with this one, I felt like it was, the further it got on, I felt like it was getting, better, but also simultaneously worse. And the whole joke about them kind of misunderstanding like common phrases that we have in America and stuff. I thought it would work, but sometimes it just would not make any sense. Like there's a part where the siblings of the Stupids family go to this Asian restaurant. I think it's like a hibachi type place, and the waiter says, "Would you like the cashew chicken?" And the daughter goes, "We're not paying you cash." And then the son goes, "We're not, and don't call us chicken." And I was like, "Well, that doesn't really like work at all. Like I don't, yeah, I'm, but
Yeah,
if I can rattle off some positives, because I don't want to be like all negative.
I have
I
some
thought it,
positive things. Yeah.
yeah. I just I liked seeing Bug Hall in another movie because he was kind of a big part of my childhood playing Alfalfa in the Little Rascals remake that they, or I guess it would be in the Little Rascals movie slash remake, however you want to look at it. So that was kind of cool, and I like seeing Tom Arnold again, and I liked all the production design, I would say. There are some physical gags in there that I like, but I never felt like the movie never really made me laugh. And I will say this as well: the film seems to have a fan base out there.
Yeah. Well,
It just
there's a
didn't,
lot of cool cameos in it too.
mhm.
Um, like you have quite a few directors that have cameos. Like David Cronenberg's in the movie, and like Costa Gavras, the guy who directed Z,
Mhm.
weirdly, and Norman Jewison, and
Well, as
Robert Wise as well.
yeah, and you pointed out
So
Max Landis is also has a small little cameo in it too, which is
yeah,
John's son.
but we don't care we don't care about Max Landis's cameo. I just want to go on the record and say that we are not pro Max or John Landis on this podcast. Um, but
Mhm.
so I mean, like, yeah, it's can't not saying that I could probably make the same argument about people having random cameos in the Entourage movie. I don't think it's like the
But
biggest
the
plus in the
Entourage
world.
movie is a cinematic event unlike anything else. I mean, it's a tough comparison, Chris. I would
I,
argue, but um,
I guess you are right.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that the cameos are appreciated, even
Mhm.
if they don't really aid my enjoyment in the film that much.
Yeah.
Uh, it, especially like I guess I guess the one thing that I also appreciated was that they kind of dressed like a stereotypical 50s slash early 60s nuclear family. And it
Mhm.
kind of reminded me of like those Brady Bunch movies that they made in the 90s, where like that was
Mhm.
kind of the joke. But I don't think they really did much with it. And also I don't think that
Yeah.
they needed to be more stupid. That's my main criticism. The stupids were not stupid enough, I
I
want
I
them
I
to
can see.
I want them to be so stupid. Like I think it would be a lot more I think it would be a lot better if like just they acted like Tom Green's character and Freddy Got Fingered. I guess what I'm
That would
saying
be
is that
quite interesting.
Freddy Got Fingered is already the better version of the stupid.
Yeah. Well, at least they have like I felt like with the family they were pretty much all on the same level. Like if you were to take the actions of like the father and switch it out with the son, like the characters would ultimately be like no different from each other. Like I didn't feel like
Well,
any of them had a great sense
yeah.
of like personality. Like they didn't really stand out to each other. Like if one person did all the actions of the whole family, I don't think it ultimately would have like, that I think, well, that's hyperbole, but I'm just saying, like, I think they should have had like at least some strengths to them that they could have played off comedically, you
There
know.
are some bits that like I think are actually genuinely funny though, like
Mhm.
the part where they go to like the planetarium and they're like waiting for God, and then they're like, "Oh my God, it's the Lord," and then the guy, and then it's just the janitor, and he's like, "No, my name is Lloyd."
Well, I
And they're
like
like,
the initial setup of
"Eh."
Tom Arnold being in this dumpster, and then there's like this big arms dealing like going off. Like I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, or or the fake the whole like knockoff Jerry Springer kind of thing that they had
mm,
going on, that he went on. Then he starts singing that song about how
it's quite
his,
catchy.
yeah, what is it? His
I'm
father
my
is,
own grandfather or
yeah, I'm my
something.
own grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I was trying to think about like, is the reason why the whole illegal arms deal plot like have to do with the Iran Contra affair, the fame, the controversial sale of illegal arms that the Reagan administration facilitated to the Khomeini government in Iran? Is that what John Landis is trying
Shooting
to?
for.
Is there more of a political angle that he's going for with this plot line? We'll never know. I don't think
Yeah.
so, but
I don't know. It's tough to say.
but
um yeah, I mean I agree. It does have its moments, but I think it what I kind of struggled to like really get into it. Um those little
yeah,
moments are appreciated, but I couldn't, I had a hard time with it.
yeah. I guess we can maybe talk about John Landis as a
Mhm.
whole, as a director and as a
Um
person.
just
Uh,
as an end cap really quick, this movie might be for you. I mean, it has its fans, so I wouldn't say steer clear from it entirely. I mean, it's a fairly quick watch, just to like say that really quick. I don't know if it's personally my thing, but you might
yeah.
like it, you know.
Oh, also one more thing I did
Uh-huh.
want to bring up was how the score was done by Christopher Stone, and I don't really know much about his work, but like every single music cue in this movie felt like it was just like default 90s like comedy music, like
Mhm.
just kind of like that like whimsical uh kind of like orchestral music, like where
Mhm.
it's like, whoa, this is crazy, whoa, it's
Well,
like
that's,
da na 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 na.
yeah. The thing that I find interesting about that is because I was talking to Chris about this before we started the podcast, but I was listening to um there's a podcast out there called The Movies That Made Us, and John Landis was on it, and he was talking about scores and how he got one of his friend's dads was a composer or a songwriter. I don't remember who it was specifically. But he asked them to make the score for Animal House, and it kind of changed what the comedy score was at the time. And it wasn't like the typical, like you were saying, like whimsical, like woo, 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 it wasn't like
Yeah.
like the classic like comedy kind of scores that you would typically hear. So it's interesting to have, for him to have done Animal House with that type of score, and then do the Stupids, like decades later with that type of score. Which, to be honest, I can't really. I'm kind of struggling to remember what it sounded like, but and I feel bad for that. But I hadn't listened to that podcast, so I didn't really have that in the back of my mind. And it just didn't, unfortunately, it didn't stand out to me too much, but I'm sure if I went back and listened to it, I would probably garner more of an opinion about it. But as you were saying.
Yeah, well, it's just like one of those, I don't know too much about the inception of this movie, but it just
Mhm.
seems like something that was just come up with. That was just like that. It was created between two friends as like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if we named a family if we named a family
Stupid.
stupid, and that's
There's
like
actually.
kind of because he
Mhm.
didn't write it though.
Hmm.
I mean, he didn't write most of his movies, but
Yeah. I actually forgot there was something I wanted to bring up. There is an animated dog and cat in this movie.
yes,
Um,
they're claymation, I believe.
I couldn't tell if it was claymation or if it was animation made to look like claymation. But the thing that caught me off guard is that in the first scene where I think it's the dog, where the dog is placed in the scene, that part of the frame is out of focus. And it really messed with me. I was wondering if you had, if that kind of bugged you.
I I was kind of taken aback by it
Hmm.
at first because it just seemed very out of place because
Hmm.
nothing else kind of well and there's the animated dog and cat, and then there's also like these strange looking aliens that appear at the beginning of the film and then try to land on the earth at the end of the film,
Yeah.
um which is just pretty much part of a gag. Not really much
Hmm.
else is to it, and then there's not really much else to their appearance in the film, but they also looked very strange and kind of about, I don't know, both of them seemed out of place, the cat and the dog,
Yeah.
and then the aliens. But
I don't think I minded it too much. I just thought like I couldn't tell if it was actual claymation because like it really does look like claymation, but there's something a little off about it that like I'm like, well, maybe that is animation. Like I can't tell. Um, but yeah, it is weird to have a film that, well, I don't know. I don't know. I just wanted to pick your brain on it and see what you thought.
yeah, I don't think I don't think I minded it too much.
Mm,
There's a lot of other things that I think are more glaring flaws of the movie that overshadow
yeah.
uh, a cat and a dog not really being out of place. Like I find that the whole uh, just the way that the frequency that the whole film operates on to be a lot more glaring of an issue. Like just kind of like
Hmm.
this, just like kind of like this. Oh, we misunderstood this. Oh,
Hmm.
we misunderstood this, and then that's the source of all the comedy.
Hmm. Well, I guess we can kind of transition to John Landis as a director. Oh,
And as a
sorry.
person.
Hmm. So where would you
Uh,
kind of like to start where would you kind of like to start with that?
well, John Landis is kind of one of those directors that, well, he's a director that came to prominence in the 70s.
Mm,
Kind of, I would say John Landis, a lot of those SNL comedy types, you know, your Dan Aykroyd's, your Eddie Murphy's, John Belushi's, Chevy Chase. I kind of group John Landis in with that crew of kind of people that helped bring these people to prominence through his but behind the camera, not in front of the
mm,
camera.
yeah.
Um, and so, you know, I think Animal House is one of those movies that I think a lot of older generations have quite the fondness for. I
Hmm.
wouldn't say that I'm as crazy about it as a lot of boomers and Gen Xers are, but that was kind of his first. That and Kentucky Fried Movie was probably his first big hit.
Hmm.
Um, and so other than that, like people really like the Blues Brothers. He did Trading Places, Coming to America. He didn't do Coming to America, the sequel that came out this year. And
I'm interested to know what his thoughts are on that, just out of pure curiosity.
and then of course Thriller is another big one that he directed, and I think he also directed the music video for Black or White, the other Michael Jackson song. But he gets around, is my point. I think this is probably the worst movie that I've seen by him, I would actually say. Of the 5, I guess. Or of the 4 that I've seen, because American Werewolf in London is that big one that people seem to really like, but I still haven't gotten around to it. But
me neither.
But yeah,
I don't know if it's still happening, but I know there is a remake in the works where his son is going to direct it. And again, I think that's
scrapped,
may have gotten nixed by now. Yeah. I wonder if I think he was going to do the screenplay too. I don't know. But
there's no way.
Well, we might not. We'll probably won't know about that one. Well, I guess we can. I did in because I've never really seen any of his other movies. I've seen this one of the Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone was part of I guess. I wanted to get it in just because of the incident that has kind of hung over him for the rest of his life since it happened. And for those who may not know, there was an instance, Twilight Zone, the movie, is basically it's a remake of 4 Twilight Zone episodes. And so John Landis had the first one, in which there was a helicopter incident where Vic Morrow, right? I think.
Vic Morrow, who's Jennifer Jason Leigh's father and was also in the Bad News Bears.
So it was him, and I don't know if their names have ever been released, but there were 2
their names
children
have been released.
Oh, they have? Okay.
Yeah. It was I believe that their names were Renee Shin Yi Chin and Micah Din Lee.
Which they were hired, and they were, unfortunately, all 3 of them were killed during a helicopter incident that happened on set. But the reason that it has become, well, first of all, they passed away, which is incredibly terribly. It's a terrible thing. But when the investigation went on into what happened behind kind of the scenes, California law at the time for film said that you can't have children on a film set like after 12 or something. I'm forgetting the exact time, but they were on the film set at 2 a.m. And so there was a big lack of communication between the pyrotechnics director and the helicopter pilot. And essentially what happened was, during the scene they shot, there were these explosions in the scene where it shot fire up into the sky, where the helicopter was, because I think it was hovering above ground. And so essentially the pilot became blinded, and it crashed, and unfortunately it had killed them. And so that's kind of always hung over John Landis. And so I think it brings up kind of an interesting issue. Me and Chris were kind of talking about a little bit before the beginning of the episode. Because as a director, he kind of had to make the decision to, if you use it, that can be seen as unethical, because these people died during the making of it. But do you cut it? Because then it's almost like maybe what they went through was for nothing. So it's a very difficult kind of issue to navigate. And they ended not using it in the segment. which the segment is about, like it's a racist dude, and he has to live out all the atrocities of war. So he gets sent to Nazi and Vietnam. um I want to say there's another place that he gets sent, but I can't remember. um and so that's kind of how that segment went, and that's kind of, they were sent to trial and they were acquitted and everything. And then
which
following
is
that,
still
you know,
baffling to me that
yeah,
yeah.
I was also talking about this book that was written about it, called Outrageous Conduct, which is out of print right now, but it might be at your like local library or something. So I'm gonna read that soon. And it's about the whole trial and the incident itself. And I can't even fathom having to. It's just a terrible situation any way you look at it. Um,
Yeah.
and well, I guess like John Landis also shot the prologue. I don't know if he did the epilogue for Twilight Zone, but I thought the prologue was good. I'm a little I you know I liked John Landis's segment, but I will say it does feel cut short, but and for good reason. Because they couldn't finish it, but I think they probably picked the lesser of two evils, and I think that it was good for them to kind of cut that scene out of that segment. um and just to throw my thoughts on the rest of the film really quick, Steven Spielberg's remake of Kick the Can, I wasn't too big a fan of. I just I don't know. There's something a little kind of it doesn't seem to quite capture the magic that I think it's trying to, garner. Joe Dante's segment about the kid with telepathy, I think, or however you kind of want to look at that. I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about the ending of it, but I thought it was an interesting one, and it really stood out. There's a lot kind of brought up in there that I think it honestly could have been developed more into like its own movie, maybe if they wanted to, but I don't think they would. But and then finally, you have George Miller's remake of what's it? Incident at like 3,000 feet or something. I forget the
Nightmare
name of
night
it.
you mean Nightmare at 20,000 feet?
Yeah, that one. That one is John Lithgow as the lead. And I will just go back to the prologue just super quick. I really love the kind of chit chat between Dan Aykroyd and
Albert Brooks.
Albert Brooks. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting, and I kind of like Dan Aykroyd's character when he pops up in the prologue and epilogue. But yeah, no, I mean, and it didn't really fare well because it had that incident, and then it didn't really do very good critically. George Miller left production when his scene was in post production because of the incident, and Steven Spielberg was very outward in his displeasure with John Landis's actions. And I don't really know if Joe Dante ever kind of talked about it, but you know it's a very sad incident.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
It's very sad, and I think that despite all this controversy,
Mhm.
the Twilight Zone movie still made a lot of money.
I did.
It Yeah,
Mhm.
it was $10 million budget, and it made 42 million.
Oh wow.
What the heck? This movie, Twilight Zone movie, had the budget of the Stupids was $25 million, and the budget of the Twilight Zone movie was only 10 million. That's weird. That's
That's
strange.
kind of insane. I mean, to give the film credit, all the segments are pretty much set in one location. So
Okay.
they're
Makes
not
sense.
super elaborate, but I mean, it would have fooled me. It didn't seem like a $10 million movie. But you also have four different directors kind of having their own little, you know,
Yeah.
part of the pie, I guess.
Um,
So,
but yeah, I think it's always important to mention this whenever you're talking about John Landis, and
Mhm.
of course, separate the art from the artist.
Mhm.
Even in this case or any case for that matter, but those three people should be alive today,
Yeah.
and it's because of just kind of, I would say, carelessness
Mhm.
that isn't the case.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
But yeah, as far as Landis films, I guess I'd recommend Trading Places over The Stupids, especially when it comes to Christmas. I think that Trading Places is pretty fun one. A good Eddie Murphy performance
Mhm.
and a good Dan Aykroyd performance.
That one is on my list. But I might watch American Werewolf in London before I get to the other
Well, of
ones.
course, Halloween's before Christmas.
Mhm. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, all right.
Mhm.
Are you gonna watch Blues Brothers 2000 first, right?
I actually am pretty interested in this. Well, I want to see Blues Brothers. And I'll see what happens with Blues Brothers 2000. So, but are you ready to do an ad break, or were there kind of any final thoughts that you had?
No, those are all the final thoughts I have. Yep.
All right. And we will be right back. Okay. And we are back. So, just to let people know, me and Chris are kind of changing it up a little bit. We're going to be kind of experimenting with this and kind of see where it goes. So we're kind of reconsidering the news section of the podcast. We're kind of thinking about taking it out just for right now, and kind of experimenting with kind of this extra time that we have, or maybe just make the episode shorter in general. um Please, I'm very open to feedback. If anyone who's
Yeah,
listening has,
please.
like, let us know if you really do like that section, and we can kind of work it. It's I kind of want this to be a very collaborative thing. I think that's kind of like what it's always been. So if anyone has any like thoughts or opinions on it about how we can make it better, or maybe what we need to focus on, or I'm just genuinely curious to see people who listen kind of like what their thoughts are. You can either like message us, we have a Twitter and an Instagram, and we also have the Discord. Please feel free to like let us know. But just for the time being, we're kind of experimenting kind of with the format, and we might decide to not keep it, or we might decide to kind of throw something else in its place. But as of right now, we're just kind of like we're just gonna like sorry we're just gonna hop into what we've been kind of watching, and that in our weekly recap section, I mean. And so we've also kind of are experimenting with that section as well, and we're going to try and do um Chris has a top 3 that he's watched, I'll have a top 3 that I watch, and we just kind of talk about those. But within those top 3, the new releases aren't covered, so we're not taking the new releases section out of it either. So
Yeah, don't worry.
we're
Space Jam
experimenting.
2 is still going to be talked about,
Yeah.
guys.
But did you watch any new releases this week, Chris?
I have to say, I have to say, I didn't. I didn't watch
Okay.
any new releases. I didn't get Fear Street part 2 or part 3 in yet, but
Mhm.
those I should be done. Oddly enough, though, I started watching that new HBO miniseries, The White Lotus, and
Mhm.
only episode 1 and 2 are out so far. So I'm caught up with those, but they come out every week, and
That looks very
uh,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
Mhm.
You get to watch really shallow people complain about things, and it's got an ensemble cast of people like Steve Zahn, Connie Britton,
Steve Zahn's in it?
Steve Zahn is in
No
it.
way.
Yeah.
Awesome. I haven't seen Steve Zahn in anything or I feel like I haven't seen him in anything in quite some time. That's awesome.
I know I'm quite a Zahn head. So
Yeah.
so yeah, and so who else is in it? Stifler's mom's in it. What's her
Nice.
name? Jennifer Coolidge. But yeah, it's by the guy Mike White wrote it, the guy that did he wrote School of Rock, and he played Ned Schneebly in School of Rock.
Nice.
And he wrote some other stuff. I was looking at his writing credits, and he also wrote the Emoji Movie, but we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, he's on to better projects, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
that's right.
So,
Yeah.
sometimes we have a hiccup.
Sometimes you got to get the bag, and that's
Yeah.
respectable.
Mhm.
And I think it's 6 parts. So,
Okay.
but I do appreciate that. Netflix needs to learn a thing or two from HBO. Just release things once a week. It keeps people talking about your stuff rather than just like boom,
Mhm.
everything out at once.
Well, I thought that's what Netflix was doing, or they at least have like a plan for this summer to release like a new movie every week. But that's not including all their TV shows and all their various other movies that they're releasing all the time.
I mean, it is what they did with Fear Street, so that's kind of cool. But I'm talking about
just
for
feel
like
like
their series.
Yeah, I can't keep up. There will be shit out on Netflix and I didn't even know that it was out, but I really I don't know. I started McCartney 321, but I'll talk about that when I finish it.
Okay.
So yeah.
So let me hear about these 2 new releases that you watched, Fulton.
All right. Which side of the shotgun do you want? Do you want Black Widow or do you want Space Jam first?
Let's do Black Widow first, and we'll do Space Jam last.
All right. I think I want to surprise you with both of these reviews. I will start off by saying this. I don't think either of them are very good movies. And so okay. So Black Widow first. This movie has the odd task of not being able to really progress anything because I mean, I don't think this is necessarily a spoiler alert, but spoiler alert for Marvel. Black Widow died at the ending of Endgame, so this movie is set during Infinity War, I think, when they're still like on the run, but she hasn't met up with Captain America yet, so you can't really progress her character. So I think that's kind of why they have the family role, so they can progress their characters without damaging any of like the continuity of like whatever they've already set up. And so Florence Pugh, David Harbour, and Rachel Weisz, I think. They kind of fill out the rest of the movie, and they are what kind of makes the movie for me. I mean, I really like Florence Pugh. I think she's a very good actress, but I will be honest that her Russian accent, I always felt it was kind of more like an imitation, like a classic like Russian impersonation or impression. But I will be honest, it kind of like grew to me to the point where I didn't really mind it in the movie. But David Harbour really like stole the show to me as the Red Guardian. I thought he was like a great like injection of like life and character into the movie. And he's someone that I would like to see again in the Marvel universe. Although I'm not a big Marvel person, I would like to see him again, but not as a lead. I don't think they should do like a Jack Sparrow thing where people loved him and then they made him the main character, and then that that how that played out and everything. But I mean, if the movie didn't have him, I don't think I would really like the movie too much. But I think they for the main like title sequence, they get a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is personally not for me. I was not a very big fan of this cover. I mean, my expectations were not high at all with the movie because of my kind of standing with Marvel. So I mean, I was entertained by it. I don't think it's a very good movie. Um, it's kind of ridiculous in some aspects where it's like, I mean, they literally survive things that humans should not be able to survive. And I get they're assassins and everything, and I know this is
But they don't
Marvel,
have
so
any
it's kind of dumb.
superpowers, right?
Yeah,
They're
they don't
just
have any
regular people.
superpower. Yeah, they're I mean, Red Guardian is like the Russian equivalent to Captain America, right? He's a super soldier. So he I can get. Everyone else is just a plain regular human being trained assassin. So there's like literally a scene where the taskmaster shoots like a little explosive bow and it hits the bottom of the street and pops the car that has Black Widow and her sister up into the air. And then so an explosion from under the car pops up. The car doesn't explode somehow. It slams down on the ground and slides into a train, like into like a subway thing, and continues to flip down the stairs into the subway. And they just get out and like start running. And I was like, even for Marvel, I was like, this suspension of disbelief is quite enlarged, in certain scenes of this movie. But I mean, if you just want to turn your brain off, it's fine. So I think that's kind of where I sit with that movie. I don't find it very good, but I don't think I would necessarily want to watch it again, but I appreciated what David Harbour brought to it. Um, and then I guess I can jump into Space Jam really quick if you would like.
Yeah, no, I won't. I've been seeing the clips on Twitter, and
Yeah.
it seems like really, really quite something. Not something that I
Oh,
probably want to waste 2 hours of my life on, but
oh,
I'm happy that you can. I'm happy that
yeah.
you did the honors for me.
um, okay. So with this movie, again, I do not think it is very good, but I was like extremely entertained by it. And I think like this is a movie, I mean, that you initially kind of put me on this track of thinking with it. Because when I watched the first Space Jam, I did not know that they were commercials, that then expanded into a movie. So this thing is like a huge, I mean, if you thought the first one was cash grab, holy fuck. The second one it's so shameless. It's so fucking funny to me. Like the plot of this movie is that Don Cheadle is an AI that his there's like this new kind of equipment that Warner Brothers has made. And I would like to add that I struggle to call this film a Looney Tunes film because it is not. It is a Warner Brothers IP film, mixed IP film. Um,
What the heck?
and so there's this thing called Warner Brothers 3000, and Don Cheadle is like the AI that runs this. And so there's like all these different universes that are essentially like the worlds of all the different like Warner Brothers IPs, right? So you have like the Matrix planet, you have Game of Thrones planet, the animated Batman, animated DC planet. And so you have it to where like LeBron James has to go into this thing and he has to get Bugs Bunny, and then they have to go to all these different like planets where Looney Tunes have been like injected into different IPs and get them out of it. And the story is very cliche. It's the classic like father and son thing where the father doesn't understand the son, but he wants the son to kind of be like him. And ultimately they like come to the agreement that, they're both different people and they accept each other, whatever. It's been done a lot. But there's just something really like entertaining and funny to me where like seeing like the grandma from Looney Tunes like in the Matrix like dodging like bullets and just like injected into like all these different worlds. It's really stupid. And like the film is comprised, like its score and soundtrack are comprised of like rap, like modern rap songs and trap songs. So when you get to the court, it's so funny to me, like to see like Bugs Bunny and like LeBron James and like Daffy Duck like playing on the court to like trap music and like in slow motion, and then like Don Cheadle like I'd say he's like 50% hamming it up. I think he could have gone even farther. And it would have been even better. But yeah, no, there's just something. It's such an enigma of a movie to me. Um,
I hope it's not a sign of the thing of more. I hope I hope it stays an enigma and isn't a sign of
I
what's to come. I don't want.
it's tough to say. I thought that there was going to be a post-credit scene. There's not. There's no, and
Wow.
there's no allusion to another movie. But with it being titled A New Legacy, I'm like, well, that kind of sounds like the beginning of,
No.
something. But like, to me, where do you go? I don't get where you would get. I mean, how they came up with this plot, I don't know, but I don't really know how they would continue it. But I mean,
They go to Rick's, right? From Casablanca.
yes. There are scenes where Looney Tunes are in Casablanca. There are scenes, I mean, Rick and Morty show up.
The Austin
Um,
Powers scene I saw, that was insane.
yeah, that was crazy. Notorious Pig was pretty funny to me. It's very
Big
stupid.
Chungus.
Yeah, Big Chungus. There's a scene where when LeBron finally arrives in Toon World, he falls. And you know how like in cartoons when a character falls, you see like like the outline of their like body on the ground.
Yeah.
So instead of LeBron's body, it's like a Nike swoosh. And I thought that was pretty. I mean, I was like, that's so shameless. I just thought it was very funny.
I
Um,
just it's just so strange to me that like they've been trying to get this film made for years,
I
it
believe since
seems.
2014, if I
Yeah,
read correctly.
and so they got LeBron, arguably
Mhm,
our, well, not arguably, our generation's Michael Jordan, as far as
mhm,
well-known basketball players who are, a lot of people would say, are the best of the best of the sport. And then and then you just use them as a you just use them in this film where you just kind of go through the other Warner Brothers intellectual properties, and that's just like everything is just a reference to like, I don't know. I think a good point that I've heard people bring up is that like probably since it's probably been since like the early 60s, if even, that like
mhm.
the Looney Tunes have actually appeared in anything that's actually of quality.
Yeah,
They're just like these characters that are just so well written and so well loved, and have so much history behind them that people will kind of give them a pass. But like,
mhm,
those Chuck Jones shorts that they were in ages ago, the
mhm.
ones that people remember, your Duck Amuck, or What's Opera Doc, those important shorts with this great timeless animation, like that was generations ago.
Yeah.
So
It is weird
it's
how they've like survived the test of time throughout all of this. Like, I mean, and I like the Looney Tunes. Like, I don't think I would necessarily watch this movie if I didn't.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, man, it's just like
Well, what's the
I
do the
wish I
so
saw it in theaters. I genuinely wish I did, but I
but
wasn't able to.
then you'd be rewarding this
Yeah,
shameless practice.
that's very true. But I was out of town, so if I was in town, I probably would have saw it on theaters or on in theaters. Sorry. Um, but yeah,
You
man, I don't know. I think a lot of
you
people are gonna call me crazy for liking it, but it is what it is.
Some would say that the best most recent Warner Brothers, or I mean the best most recent Looney Tunes film is actually Peter Bogdanovich's What's Up Doc,
Which has a
where
surprising lack of Bugs Bunny, you know what I mean? So,
Barbara Streisand is Bugs Bunny in that film.
mhm.
That's my belief. She's eating the
Yeah.
carrot.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I don't know. What? Oh yeah, I wanted to ask, what about the Droogs from A Clockwork Orange? What do they do in the film other than just show up?
They're just in the sidelines.
I see.
It's very weird. Oh, I will mention this. I forgot to say this. One of the negatives of the film to me every live action scene that is not set in like the Looney Tunes verse or the Warner Brothers verse looks very, very bad. Like I don't think they shot, maybe they shot like 10% of this movie on location.
Wow.
In terms of like real life locations, it looked very, I was like kind of astonished, but I guess, the budget did go to like the 2D and 3D animation. So, pick and choose really, but I just kind of wanted to highlight that. But one of my favorite scenes is when Sarah Silverman is like on the phone and you see like this Aquaman poster because she's like a Warner Brothers executive. Stephen Yun is also in the film as a Warner Brother executive too, which I thought was pretty funny.
Did
With
it seem
this,
masturbatory about Warner Brothers as a corporate brand, or was it kind of more tongue in cheek, wink, wink? I mean, I think either one are like good,
I think
but
it
I
kind of
think
plays it either way
okay.
because they're like, look at all these great characters we have, and I like, you know, it's
And none
it,
of the
it kind of
characters
plays it
from
both ways.
Entourage, and none of the characters from Entourage showed up.
I wish so, man. It doesn't. I'm tired of Entourage not getting the respect it deserves.
As a Warner Brothers
Hear
property, yeah.
ye, hear ye.
Hear ye, include Vinny Chase and E and Turtle and Johnny Drama and Ari Gold in Space Jam 3. Let's
Mhm.
make it happen.
Um,
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
well, there's something else I was gonna say. Um, can I tell you about one scene? Do you care about spoilers?
No, no, I don't. I'm cool.
Okay.
The more I hear about this movie, the more I'm interested in it, but I don't care about the plot.
Okay, so there's one scene that genuinely like I thought was very funny. There's a scene at the low point of the basketball, part, and Daffy Duck's like, guys, I got him. And LeBron's like, who'd you get? And Daffy Duck's like, I got Michael Jordan. And then so like there's like this big build up, and Michael B. Jordan comes out and he's like, hey guys, what's up?
Okay, that's sick. That's really funny.
I was like, all right. I was like, wait, are they actually gonna bring like Michael Jordan back to it? And that one definitely got me. I thought that was very funny. And then Daffy Duck's
Michael.
like, well, we had a Michael A. Jordan and now we get Michael B. Jordan. And I was like, you know what? I give that one a pass. That one was pretty slick. Um and I don't want to, give away the whole plot, but I find Michael B. Jordan's reaction to it to be very funny as well.
There's
Um,
there's quite a few other basketball players that show up in it too, right?
I would say they show up and then they do voice work. That would be
Ah,
my way to kind of describe it, because it's kind of weird how like the Don Cheadle kind of thing plays out. Um, in terms of like how the team is kind of stacked against them, but I can say I definitely enjoyed this a lot more than the first Space Jam. The first Space Jam is just kind of like, me and you reviewed it like a few weeks back ago. I mean, so I don't think I necessarily have too much more to add to the first Space Jam, but
well,
yeah.
um,
But what have
well,
you been watching? Yeah.
thank you for your service. Well, I guess I'll start. So I guess we're doing these top threes now.
Yeah.
The best thing that I watched this week was the Clint Eastwood film, The Outlaw Josey Wales, from
Mm,
1976. It's just a really cool movie. It's just Clint Eastwood is an outlaw in the post Civil War era of America, and is also trying to avenge his family's death because they get murdered by this guy at the beginning of the film, and he tries to track him down, and then people kind of follow him around. He's like, I'm the outlaw Josey Wales. I don't need other people to help me. And it's just like, it's a very kind of I would say like lazy in a good way, where it's just kind of, you jump to different places in America and you kind of travel along the beaten path with Clint Eastwood as he tries to get revenge on his family's death. Uh,
Mhm.
there's just a lot of cool gunfights too. And yeah, as a Clint Eastwood Western, I would recommend this. And it also has one of the coolest posters ever, I think, in my opinion. Really cool poster where it's just it's just a close-up drawing of Clint Eastwood's face as he's dual wielding revolvers and he's like screaming. And it just says the outlaw Josey Wales, an army of one. And so then the second best thing I watched this week was Top Hat, which is a Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers musical from 1935. My second that I've seen.
That was
them,
also brought up on. That's one of John. No, wait, did John Landis? I think Joe Dante or Josh Olson brought it up on that podcast I was talking about. The movies.
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Woody Allen also really likes this movie too.
Mhm.
They actually play a little part of it in. Well, they play a little part of it in The Purple Rose of Cairo, and then also they in Bernardo Bertolucci's The Dreamers. There's a whole little sequence about it where they like play a game and they have to like name classic Hollywood films by just kind of talking about the plot. And so this is my second Fred Astaire Ginger Rogers film that I've seen. Of the 9 that they acted in together, I've also seen Swing Time, and I think I like this one more because it has better. I think the songs are better. Well, I think that the dancing is probably better in Swing Time. This one, I think a lot of these songs are just kind of iconic, like Cheek to Cheek, and Irving Berlin did all the music. So, you know, that's the caliber of songwriting that we're talking about. But it's just like Fred Astaire is this guy that is a tap dancer, and he wakes up Ginger Rogers, who's sleeping below him at a hotel, and then she like is mad, so then she goes up and like complains, and then he sees her and he falls in love with her at first sight. And it's kind of simplistic, it's from 1935, but yeah, it's sweet. And then I guess the last thing that I watched that I want to talk about is Peter Bogdanovich's The Cat's Meow, which is a 2001 film that Bogdanovich made about the murder that happened on William Randolph Hearst's yacht, where a film producer was murdered, and it's kind of this Hollywood mystery. Like, people don't really know what really went down on that yacht. So this is kind of a dramatization of a bunch of kind of hearsay that people have about kind of this Hollywood legend. And I watched this because I was, as I mentioned last week, I was really into that podcast. You Must Remember This, or I got really into it and still am listening to it. But
Me too.
Oh, you started listening to it?
I'm working my way through the Hollywood Babylon thing while reading Hollywood Babylon, but it's kind of making me not want to finish Hollywood Babylon, but I do want to finish it.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of the Hollywood Babylon one last week too. Like the whole thing about did you listen to the D.W. Griffith one?
Yeah, that one was really it. I want to watch Intolerance.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I don't really care for Birth of a Nation, but I do want to see Intolerance.
Yeah, I've no interest in watching such a movie.
Yeah.
But
so I do want to see Intolerance, but I just listened to the Wallace Reed one, which I found pretty interesting. Or maybe I have like a few. No, I think I finished it, but then I'm doing my rounds of like checking out some other stuff before I go back to it.
The one about I just listened to the one about Marlena Dietrich and Claudette Colbert, and how he says that like they were both like secret lovers, and like she kind of goes into all that stuff. But yeah, anyways, of course, I'm happy that I've gotten you on this podcast as well. But So anyways, I finished the season about Luella Parsons and Hedda Hopper, the most recent season.
Mhm.
And so because like Hedda Hopper or Luella Parsons is in this film, like, or she was on that yacht, and she's played by Jennifer Tilly in this film.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of cool to see her portrayal in the film. And I mean, it's an okay movie, but I think that Kirsten Dunst as William Randolph Hearst's mistress, Marion Davies, uh, is really good casting, because Kirsten Dunst has that like kind of this iconic look that Marion Davies would do, where she'd kind of like stare off into the distance, and like Kirsten Dunst would do it a lot. And I think the casting was on point, and you know, I can tell that Bogdanovich really wanted to make this movie because he's very interested with that that era of Hollywood, and you know,
Mhm.
in interviewed a lot of these people, and like was able to kind of draw from that.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I think it's one of those movies that I think only the people that are like really really into this type of Hollywood, or this era of Hollywood, would appreciate. But if you do like that type of
It's on my
Hollywood, or
list.
yeah,
Yeah.
so but yeah. And then I thought to myself after I watched it, well, I would kind of like to rewatch Mank with this knowledge that I have now, kind of more about golden age Hollywood, and kind of see, since I know a lot more about Marion Davies, I could, you know, kind of compare Kirsten Dunst's portrayal of her to Amanda Seyfried's in
Mhm.
Mank. But then I realized there are plenty of other movies about classic Hollywood that I haven't seen that aren't like nearly that are like 2 hours and 20 minutes too. So maybe I'll just
Yeah.
do that instead.
I want to check
uh,
out De Palma's Black Dahlia.
yeah, I
Yeah.
bought that DVD at a Goodwill like a little bit ago, but you
Mhm.
gotta put that in soon.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's my top three. This is pretty good week. Despite
Yeah.
my lack of Space Jam 2 viewing.
um my three I didn't really have a movie that I disliked this week. But I'll go Godfather. I've seen it before, so this is a rewatch for me.
I've never heard of
Um
that one.
I did very much enjoy it. I don't really think I have too much to say about it other than, you know, it's The Godfather.
It's The
So
Godfather.
yeah.
That was
But
how that was why I omitted Citizen Kane from my list, because I rewatched it this week, and I
mhm.
was like, I don't need to talk about that. You know,
Yeah. Well, I
everybody already.
didn't I I just the other I only have three movies that I haven't, you know, out of all the movies that I watched this week, there's only three that I haven't talked about.
Mhm.
So the second one would be Detour, which is a Poverty Row noir film. So I've been really wanting to get
Yes,
into Poverty Row filmmaking. And
same.
it's short and it's good. Um, it's
It is
really
good,
fantastic, man.
dude. The kill, the kill with like the
The
phone
phone.
cord. Yeah, that's
Yeah. I love the scene too. Well, for people who might not know, this is a spoiler, but the whole like inciting incident that kind of like sets the plot in motion. There's this piano player and he's hitchhiking with this dude. I'm forgetting the character's name.
and then he just
Um,
dies.
yeah, well, he like falls asleep in this car. So the dude is like trying to wake him up. He's like, "Why aren't you waking up?" So he walks around and opens the car door, and the dude falls out and hits head first on a rock. Which I thought he was dead before, but I guess, you know, the rock, you know, probably did him in too. It's like one of those like kind of realistic things. It's also like kind of funny, but it still like holds up in the weight of the film. So please, yeah, check that one out. It's very good. I thought it was well acted too.
It's also
Um,
literally in the public domain, so you have no
yeah.
excuse. Like,
Criterion, there's a Criterion collection, Blu-ray of it. It's on the Criterion channel. It's like 60 minutes. It's really short. And then the third film, I watched was called Black Sabbath, which unfortunately there's no Crazy Train in it, but you know, it is what it is. But it's an Italian
There's
picture.
no, yeah, absolutely, yeah, no, not related. Well, definitely pre. I wonder if that was the inspiration for the band
That's
name.
that's what I was wondering too. But this is it's an anthology horror film. It has three segments, and Boris Karloff does the introduction, and then he has a character in the second film, in the second segment. Then he has like a little kind of prologue thing that he does. Um, I was kind of unfortunate because this is my first Boris Karloff film. I was kind of sad to, that his segment was kind of my least favorite. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't think it kind of hit the same like chord that the first two have, because like this is all about the horror of kind of being in your home, which is kind of your bubble of like safety and protection, and having that like completely violated and ripped from you, and feeling terrified and horrified in your own little bubble, which is an incredibly kind of scary and twisted thing to me.
Yeah.
And so like I think the first one hits it amazing, and the third one does it even better. And so it kind of deals with kind of like it deals with ghosts, but it also deals with like real people acting insane. There's like kind of like a mythical sense that goes between the second and third segment. And I think the third segment is it's like fantastic. I loved all of the kind of practical effects that they did for the third one, and kind of it's got a very cool kind of lighting scheme throughout this film. And it's kind of like a lot of like greens and reds and blues that are kind of all mixed together. And when they have like a fire, instead of like doing like traditional like lighting like how a normal fire would look, they have like kind of like flames of like green and red kind of waving in between each other. um so it's really interesting. It's just that kind of first segment falls a little, it kind of falls a little flat in comparison to the other two. I think if it was just the first one by itself, I think it would still be good. But I think the first two are so excellent. This one is on AMC Plus, which is like it's on Shutter, and that all that's like packaged together. So
Oh, I did.
um
So Shutter comes with AMC Plus.
yeah, I got AMC Plus, and I didn't know that it was packaged with all like this other like stuff, but it's really got a lot in there. So Shutter is also a part of that too, which is interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. Um, but I guess are we ready to announce the feature film or feature films, I guess, for next week?
Uh, yeah.
Mhm.
Let's do that. So next week we are doing
A sequel.
a part two of our Peter Bogdanovich exploration.
Mm,
So our three films that we'll be discussing are Targets from 1968,
mm,
Bogdanovich's first film. They All Laughed from 1981, Bogdanovich's follow-up to Paper Moon, that was
mm.
also famously marred in controversy
Yes.
due to the Dorothy Stratton murder suicide, or the murder of Dorothy Stratton and suicide by her respective husband, and Bogdanovich's relationship with Dorothy Stratton,
Mm,
and Mask from 1985,
mm.
Bogdanovich's comeback picture, I guess.
Well, are we
Well,
covering the Texas Film Director's Cut still?
yeah, we will. We
Mhm.
will also be talking about the Texasville director's cut.
Mm,
Also, I'd like to actually say that I was wrong about They All Laughed being as follow up to Paper Moon,
mhm.
because he did direct some things after Paper Moon with Sybil Shepherd, like
What
Daisy
Daisy
Miller and
Miller?
That Long Last Love. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, They All Laughed was the thing that kind of I don't know. it hurt his career a lot. No,
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. And then Mask kind of brought it back.
Yeah, we can kind of. I'm excited to kind of get into the history behind, kind of, well, what happened on the post production side and release of They All Laughed, because I think it's an interesting kind of story what Peter did. But I guess because we're doing the Texasville director's cut, which we've already covered the initial kind of release version. But me and Chris do plan on doing like a podcast 43 kind of movie night in the Discord. So kind of keep your eye out for when we're doing that. And Texasville director's cut's going to be the first kind of movie for that.
And next week, Reagan will be joining us
again
to talk
Bogdanovich. So if we don't, if we don't have any technical difficulties, we'll still be doing that. But me and Chris are going to test it here soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And of course, we'll also be talking about Bob Fosse's Star 80 probably as well.
Yeah, I plan on getting that in. I'm also going to try and get in One Day Since Yesterday, which is a documentary made about They All Laughed as well, with Peter in it. I believe he's in it. But we,
All right. Well, on that note, everybody have a good rest of your week and stay wavy.
Stay safe.